Good morning, everyone. I trust everyone is well and keeping safe. I'd like to welcome you to this IATF virtual event, which is being organized in partnership with the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, as well as the Economic Commission for Africa. These are a series of virtual events that are being organized under the Intra-African Trade Fair platform, with the Intra-African Trade Fair taking place next year in Kigali, Rwanda. And we are certainly pleased to be partnering with NACCIMA and the ECA to organize today's event. NACCIMA as an umbrella organization which brings together 57 city and state chambers of commerce, 4 bilateral chambers of commerce, 9 business and professional associations, and 302 corporate members, is a valuable partner to champion the cause of business through advocacy and through influence, especially as the landscape of African trade is set to change with the entry into force of the African Continental Free Trade Area on the 1st of January. We're therefore particularly pleased that today's event focuses on the African Continental Free Trade Area, whose entry is imminent and will create an integrated African market of over 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP of over $2.5 trillion. Today's virtual event will provide insight into Afreximbank's Pan-African Payment and Settlement System initiatives being championed by the bank and the ECA to support implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and support the African and Nigerian private sector take advantage of the business opportunities that the AfCFTA will create. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go into the exciting program we have planned for you today, let me quickly run you through some housekeeping rules. Many of you may not be familiar with the platform we are using today. So firstly, at the bottom of your screen, there are multiple application engagement tools that you can use. All of those tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space and make yourself comfortable with the application. You can expand your slide area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. Secondly, we have a Q&A function. So if you have any questions during the event, please submit them using the Q&A engagement tool at the bottom of your screen. We will try to answer as many questions as possible during the webcast as we go along. But if a fuller answer is needed, or we run out of time and we have not addressed your questions, please rest assured that we will respond to you via email. All the questions will be captured and kept on record to facilitate responses even beyond the event. And finally, for the best viewing experience, we recommend using a wired internet connection and closing any programs or browser sessions running in the background that could cause issues. For the best audio quality, please make sure your computer speakers or your headset is turned on, and also bear in mind that some networks can cause slides to advance more slowly than others. So logging off your VPN is recommended. And if your slides are behind, please use F5 on your keyboard to refresh the page. If you need any other information or help, you can find some answers to some of the common technical issues located in the help engagement tool at the bottom of your screen. So I think with those housekeeping rules, let us turn to today's program. And I'd like to welcome our first speaker for today, who will be delivering the opening remarks on behalf of the African Export-Import Bank, Mrs. Oluranti Doherty. Mrs. Doherty is the Acting Director, Project and Asset-Based Finance, and the head of our export development at the African Export-Import Bank. In her current role, she oversees the bank's products, initiatives, and programs that support the development of trade enabling and industrial infrastructure, asset-based financing, and export-related projects in agro-processing, extractives, heavy and light manufacturing, as well as in the health and hospitality sectors. She has over 17 years of work experience that cuts across financial management and advisory, project finance, structured trade finance, credit analysis, and deal structuring. Having spent the last 10 years originating, structuring, and funding transactions across African countries in collaboration with local and regional financial institutions, international banks, as well as regional and international development finance institutions, Oluranti has extensive knowledge of project and infrastructure financing and extensive knowledge of the African continent. She holds a master's degree in finance from the University of Leicester and a bachelor's degree in accounting from Olabisi Onabanjo University in Ogun State. She is also a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Nigeria. Oluranti, it's a pleasure to welcome you to deliver the opening remarks. Over to you.
Good morning, all. Good morning, Yusuf. Thank you for having me on board. I want to say a very good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished members of NACCIMA, the National President, Ajia Saratu Aliu, the Director of Regional Integration and Trade Division, Dr. Stephen Karinga, and everyone on this platform today. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the NACCIMA AfCFTA webinar on Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPSS, and other bank initiatives to support the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AfCFTA. This webinar session aims to introduce a selection of products and services that have been designed specifically to support African businesses. As the Pan-African Multilateral Trade Finance Institution, with a mandate to promote and finance intra- and extra-African trade, Afreximbank is committed to championing the expansion of trade and investments on the continent. As you may know, the bank offers a range of products and services, and some of the products and services are particularly designed to cater to the unique needs and context of our diverse user base. Unfortunately, time limitations for this session may not allow us to, have an exhaustive overview of all the bank's products and facilities. However, my colleagues will talk to you today about a selection of products and services and facilities that we believe will be of particular relevance to NACCIMA members. This webinar will begin by discussing the strategic African Trade Gateway initiatives, and will then be followed by Afreximbank's initiatives that have been designed to support the AfCFTA implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, as you might be aware, the bank has been at the forefront in developing technology-centric solutions to promote trade and investment in Africa and to connect entities outside the continent. A fundamental component of this has been the development of a commercially oriented trade information portal, TIP, one that is part of an emerging digital ecosystem called the African Trade Gateway, which comprises 6 different solutions that will be merged into a common platform. These digital assets include the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPSS, the African Customer Due Diligence Repository Platform, MANSA platform, the Trade Regulatory Platform, the Customer Online Banking Application, and the Trade Information Portal, which was mentioned by me earlier. Well, as you know, the year 2000 has been a very challenging year to most companies and countries across the globe due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But even before the occurrence of the COVID-19 pandemic, the bank has always recognized that digital technologies and automation is key to enabling and promoting trade and investment in Africa. And it is very evident that digital technologies and automation will continue to play an important role in post-COVID-19 future. We are able to, for instance, to hold this webinar today, courtesy of technology. We are speaking to each other, even though we are not all located in the same room, courtesy technology. So it's very clear that going forward, the world will be driven by technology, businesses will rely on technology, and Afreximbank is getting ahead of the curve. As companies all over the world continue to contemplate recovery strategies and aggressively adapt and develop new ways of operating, turning the painful lessons of the past few months into business and operating models for the future, the bank, through our trade information unit, stands ready to help companies navigate these uncharted waters, this crisis and beyond. The unit is providing strategic market intelligence for clients like NACCIMA members, seeking to understand how to operate, when to enter a market, how to expand their existing capabilities in Africa through a range of integrated trade intelligence solutions. With respect to the AfCFTA, the bank has designed and deployed strategic initiatives to support the implementation of this unique instruments. The AfCFTA brings together 55 African countries with a combined population of more than 1.2 billion people and a combined gross GDP exceeding $2.5 trillion. So trading under the AfCFTA, which will commence in January 2021, will make the continent the largest free trade area created since the formation of the World Trade Organization. The AfCFTA is an important step towards rationalizing Africa's regional trade arrangements through harmonization of trade rules, standards, and deepening of economic integration and drawing on economies of scale. We believe that the AfCFTA will contribute significantly towards integrating the continent and removing the last vestiges of colonial divisions. Intra-African trade under the AfCFTA is expected to increase by 52% by 2022, more than double within the first decade of its implementation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me also take this opportunity to mention that the bank has put in place the Intra-African Trade Fair, which is the largest trade fair of its kind on the continent, or trade or investment fair on the continent. The first edition of the IATF was held in 2018, and it attracted over 2,500 conference delegates and over 1,000 exhibitors from 45 countries, resulting in over 32 billion worth of trade and investment deals. The trade fair is now a biannual event, with the second edition holding in Kigali, Rwanda, during the 6th to 12th September 2021. We look forward to working with NACCIMA members to ensure their effective participation at the trade fair, to enable them identify business and investment as well as trading opportunities with other African countries to be able to take advantage of the AfCFTA. The bank has also launched an intra-African virtual trade fair known as VTF. This was launched in 2018, and it mimics the physical trade fair. It also enables participants who are unable to physically attend the trade fair to do so virtually. The VTF allows buyers and sellers to take virtual booths and to exhibit their goods and services throughout the year. In this context, I will encourage NACCIMA members to take up virtual booths to exhibit their goods and services and to be able to connect to other business promoters across the continent. As you can see, this webinar, like I mentioned earlier, is taken on via the VTF platform. And I encourage you to take some time after the end of this webinar to familiarize yourself with the VTF platform, to get an understanding of its capabilities and how it can assist your business to take the next leap. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I would like to reiterate that the bank stands firm in our commitment to supporting intra-African trade and investments. And in so doing, we are ready to support NACCIMA members, as well as other private sector stakeholders, to ensure that there are adequate resources, both financial and non-financial, put at your disposal to enable you adapt and thrive in this constantly changing world. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today, and I wish you a successful event. And I implore you to take advantage of the numerous financial and non-financial instruments, solutions, and services that my colleagues and I will be, presenting and discussing more on as the session progresses. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Oluranti, for those inspiring words which set out the broad parameters of what our discussion today will focus on. We are just over a month away from the launch of the start of trading under the AfCFTA, which was unfortunately delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But I think it's given us an opportunity to ensure that we have a more strong and robust continental integration arrangement. And I'm glad that we'll have an opportunity to engage with members of both Afreximbank, NACCIMA, and the UNECA to see what is being done to support implementation of it. Turning to our next speaker for the day, I'd like to welcome Hajia Saratu Aliyu from NACCIMA, the National President of NACCIMA, and the MD CEO of Sarat Group of Companies, to deliver opening remarks on behalf of NACCIMA. As a brief introduction to Hajia Aliyu, she is an astute speaker, trainer, leader, expert, and business mogul, whose watchword is exemplified by hard work and excellence. She holds a bachelor's degree in education from the renowned Ahmadu Bello University in Nigeria, and has attended numerous courses, trainings, and seminars, both within and outside the shores of Nigeria, to qualify her as a seasoned professional and educator par excellence. Her achievements in business are far-reaching, making her one of the few successful female business owners in Nigeria, with a number of notable awards and honors, which include Paragon Excellency and Impetus for Greater Service Award by Abubakar Tafawa Foundation, and the Ambassador for Peace Award from International Federation for World Peace, demonstrating that not only is Hajia Aliyu a successful businesswoman, but also made meaningful contributions to society around her. So it is with great pleasure that I invite Hajia Aliyu to deliver her opening remarks on behalf of NACCIMA.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this morning I'm here to do my assignment as the president of NACCIMA to deliver a speech to you. I want to thank the last speaker. Madam, you have really opened the floor for us in a very big way, and we thank you for really recognizing NACCIMA as the voice of the organized private sector in Nigeria, and has really asked us to really partner with those who are concerned in making AfCFTA succeed. So I want to thank you very much. And by my opening remarks this morning, I say, ladies and gentlemen, in less than 40 days in January 2021, we commenced implementation and operation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA agreement, a free trade area with an established or estimated combined GDP of $2.5 trillion and a population of over 1.2 billion people. As a mechanism for fostering prosperity, the AfCFTA supports the realization of the Africa's economic promise by helping raise productivity and investment, thereby increasing income levels and reducing poverty. However, the benefit of AfCFTA are not automatic, but rely on the efficiency and effectiveness of its operational instruments. The rules of origin, the online negotiating forum, the monitoring and elimination of non-tariff barriers, a digital payment system, and the African Trade Observatory. These instruments are only as strong as the knowledge in their use that is available to relevant stakeholders in member states of the AfCFTA. It is in this light that I express gratitude to the management and staff of the Afreximbank, led by Professor Benedict Orama, and represented here by a team of highly capable individuals, for honoring our invitation to collaborate in this webinar, which is aimed at informing the Nigerian private sector on the structure and status of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPSS. As you may be aware, PAPSS is a platform that will domesticate intra-regional payments, reduce payment transaction costs, and help the formalization of informal intra-African trade. I would also like to thank the team from the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, represented here by Mr. Ahmed Al-Awa, Chief of Strategic Advisory Unit, for their support and organizing this webinar, as well as other initiatives towards the successful implementation of the AfCFTA in Nigeria. It is my sincere hope that at the end of this webinar, the Nigerian private sector will have a grasp of the status of implementation of the PAPSS, especially the proposed pilot project in collaboration with the West African Monetary Institute. It is also my hope that at the end of the webinar, participants would have a broader view on the readiness of the Nigerian financial services sector to participate as PAPSS. As National President of the Nigerian Association of Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NACCIMA, I accept my assurance that our association will always be ready to collaborate with relevant stakeholders to champion the cause of private sector through the influence of public policies that promote free market enterprise. I wish all distinguished speakers and guests a fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. And stay safe, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President Hadia Aliyu, for those remarks on behalf of NACCIMA, and we certainly welcome collaboration with NACCIMA as we enter this new era of African trade and African development. Turning to our presenters for today, our next presentation, our first presentation, will be on the African Trade Gateway, and will include a presentation on the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, as well as some of the other digital initiatives being African Export-Import Bank in support of implementation of the AfCFTA. Our presenter will be Mr. Emeka Onya, who is a manager in the Strategy and Innovation and Product Development Department of the Bank African Trade Gateway. Emeka works as a manager in the Innovation and Product Development Department of the bank. He's responsible for identifying internal and external needs of the bank and its customers, and then designing products and services to meet those needs, which include leveraging emerging technologies to solve some of the challenges confronting African businesses. To date, he has led the development of new Pan-African products and services from the concept stage all the way through to commercialization, whilst embedding a culture of innovation throughout the organization. His expertise cuts across digital transformation, digital and emerging technologies, product development, payment technologies, as well as financial technology innovation. Before joining the African Export-Import Bank, he worked at the Royal Bank of Scotland in London, where he had the responsibility of taking the bank through its digital transformation journey by building new digital banking channels for its commercial and private banking clients. He's also worked in Europe, where he worked on various innovative payment products, and as a technology consultant at Accenture UK, where he started his career. Before Emeka comes on to deliver his presentation, just to remind participants that we do have an opportunity for Q&A, which will follow immediately after the presentation. But please feel free to use the Q&A function throughout the presentation to get your questions in so that we can have Emeka respond to some of those questions at the end of the session. Emeka, over to you.
Thank you very much, Yusuf, for that introduction. Good morning to everyone, NACCIMA members. And I want to say a big thank you to the National President of NACCIMA, Madam Maliu, for that wonderful introduction. It was very good to see that you already know a lot about the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. And I hope that on this presentation, we'll be able to expand further and explain how NACCIMA members can participate and really benefit from this introduction of this solution. So I want to first set some background as to what the bank is doing. As part of our mandate, which is really to drive intra-African trade, we understand that recent advancements in technology has created an opportunity for Africa to adopt solutions that can quicken the pace of development and really help grow intra-African trade. So the bank, in line with this strategy, is creating a digital ecosystem that will do just that, that will look to eliminate the major bottlenecks that businesses and members of NACCIMA, for example, face in conducting cross-border trade within the continent. The aim of this is to create an incentive framework and a capability for the private sector to increase participation in the trade and economic growth in Africa, and to really drive that to true intra-African payments and have multiple stakeholders participate in a single innovation platform. This platform itself and the ecosystem that we're putting together will really help drive and support the AfCFTA that is due to launch next month. Some of the key challenges that we are looking to solve with this ecosystem, there are obviously a lot of challenges that impact trade, cross-border, and intra-African trade at large. But we're really looking to focus on a few key challenges that we're trying to really focus on. One, we want to reduce the foreign currency costs of conducting intra-African trade by making it easier to pay and settle in national currencies. We want to then make it easier and reduce the high costs of know your customer and CDD checks across Africa, restoring the trade and financial flows back to those productive sectors on the continent. Then we're looking to really deepen and improve access to trade information, trying to understand better who our African corporates are, what potential they bring, and what opportunities exist for networking across the borders in the continent. And we'll look to minimize the challenges that we face moving goods across borders, and also making it easier to access standard regulatory information that facilitates goods moving across borders. So in light of the strategy and in light of the plan, some of the platforms that we've already mentioned, but we're focusing on the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which I will describe in great detail, the Trade Information Portal, the Trade Regulatory Information Portal, MANSA, which is our Africa Customer Due Diligence Supervisory Platform, and our Customer Online Application. So these form the basis of the ecosystem, and I'll touch on a few of them in the high level, but I will delve deeper into the PAPSS, the Pan-African Payment System, to really explain how you can participate and how it really helps us solve the challenges that we face paying cross-border in the continent. So jumping straight into PAPSS, we know from our research and from conducting several workshops and meeting several private sector individuals that one of the key challenges of border trade in Africa is, one, that you have to use foreign currency, and the lack of compatibility of most of our currencies in the continent. And to compound that problem, it's the challenge of accessing hard currency and the limited access of that foreign currency. So, and that really limits what can happen in terms of trading cross-border, and the bank is looking to mitigate the challenge in line with its mandate by facilitating payment settlements in local currencies across the continent. So in a nutshell, to describe exactly what it is, PAPSS is a central financial market infrastructure that was put together to support payment arrangements across the continent. It is designed to support the safe and efficient flow of payments across the continent. It is designed to operate independently of domestic payment systems. So it's a continental Pan-African system that operates independently of each of the country's regional systems and domestic systems. Payments is designed to be instant or near instant, and it's going to be in local currency. So you cannot pay on PAPSS with foreign currency like dollars. You only pay with the national local currencies. It's going to be 24/7, so because trade never sleeps, so you can make payments at any time. And because it's going to be cross-border and supports the AfCFTA, we're looking to define a common framework for transacting, clearing and settling those transactions cross-border, working with the African Union to include things like operating rules, practices, standards, and regulatory requirements. So that is, in a high-level nutshell, what PAPSS is designed to do. So in this slide, I would like to sort of explain in a pictorial level how PAPSS itself is set up. So before this initiative kicked off about 18 months ago now, there is no common continental level settlement platform within the continent, which makes trade, intra-African trade and payment risky, time-consuming, and expensive. So I'll give you an example. So we've received many examples from many businesses detailing their experiences trying to make payments across border. If you try to use a banking system, there's the high cost of transfer of money from a bank to a different bank in Africa. There's a time it takes. So, for example, myself, I live in Egypt, and when I send money cross-border to Nigeria, for example, from the bank here, the banking systems, I only have two options. I can use the channels, or you can use informal channels. If you go to the banking system, you send your money from your bank to the bank in Nigeria. It really is what we call a pay and pray approach, because it depends on how quickly you want the money. It can take anything from 3 days if you're lucky, 4 days, or we're talking a week, 2 weeks in some instances, and I've actually heard about 3 to 4 weeks. And the cost, obviously, to pay the money is expensive. So just by transferring the money, you're already paying $25 plus other commissions. And then there are other costs if you have to trace where the money is, if it hasn't been received for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks. Then the informal channels, you have to find someone that's going back, so traveling to a country and they give them the money, and you have to coordinate for them to help you put it into an account or someone to pick it up. So when you're doing trade, none of these methods is actually quite conducive to facilitate trade. So with PAPSS, we're saying, okay, we're putting together a central infrastructure, working with the central banks of the countries in the continent to say, we will connect, there's a red box in the middle, which is the PAPSS. We will connect to the national payment systems of each domestic of each country. So this is the RTGS, the real-time gross settlement system of each country. And where a regional exists, so a COMESA or CIRUS, we can also connect to that. So what that means is that then we will connect the participants like commercial banks and central banks and telcos and others will connect directly to PAPSS to make payments. And when you make a payment through PAPSS, because we're connecting the countries, we send the money instantly to each country, and then we settle through central banks in local currency, then we settle in Afreximbank between the countries. So what this allows us to do is to work collaboratively with each central bank in each country that we're starting with, and make it possible to provide a cross-border settlement and payment service across Africa. So I must also add that we're working with the African Union in this initiative, and it's been seen as a big driver and something that really support and improve the prospects of the AfCFTA. So this is very important, and especially for NACCIMA and its members, to help you facilitate payment cross-border in local currency. You don't have to worry about accessing foreign currency, just able to make trade across border. So moving on. So this diagram explains exactly how PAPSS operates as an African central switch. So today, if I want to send money from Nigeria to Ghana, for example, the reason why it can take some time is that the money first has to go, when I go to my bank in Nigeria, so I go to Access Bank, I want to send money to a bank in Ghana. The money first goes from the bank to its correspondent bank somewhere, let's say New York. And then it goes to the correspondent bank of the receiving bank in Ghana, also maybe New York, and then back down to Ghana. So your money actually leaves the continent, goes all the way to America, Europe, and comes back down to Africa. And that adds to the cost and adds to the time it takes to make those payments. So, but with PAPSS, that won't happen again. So you're paying local currency, your money goes from the bank to PAPSS, from PAPSS to the receiving bank instantly. And Afreximbank with central banks will settle those payments at the end of the day. So we'll now be able to disintermediate and reduce the time it takes to make those payments and make it quicker, faster, and cheaper for private sectors to make that that payment. So so there's a question that came up. So what is the difference between PAPSS and Stripe? That's a good question. So like I said earlier, PAPSS is a financial market infrastructure. So what it is if you imagine a rail or train. A train only operates on a railway. So you need to first lay the rail infrastructure before the train can. So what PAPSS is doing is implementing the rails that connects the country to make payments. Stripe on its own, and companies like Stripe and the fintechs and telcos will then sit on top of that, and the banks, to then use the rail that we're putting together to make that payment possible. And the reason why we have a lot of challenges with payments across Africa is because the rails are not actually there. So we're having companies having to create their own rails or reuse inefficient rails that exist today just to make those payments happen. So let me just delve deeper into who can participate in this. So like I mentioned, central banks participants, they can also make payments. So PAPSS supports low value transactions and high value transactions. What that means is that central bank might decide to pay a country, so Nigeria might decide to pay for commodities and pay Kenya and pay in Naira, and Kenya can receive Kenyan shillings. So central banks can make payments on the platform. Commercial banks also are participants, because the private sector and users like ourselves will go to our banks to make those payments. So commercial banks will be direct participants to make those payments. And the other banks, like your money operators, your remittance operators, are also participants, but they are what we call indirect participants, because direct participants are those that actually have an account with the central bank's RTGS to operate. Indirect ones do not, but they will participate on behalf of their clients using commercial banks as a conduit as well. So other examples are things like your microfinance banks, your mortgage banks, your merchant banks as well. So those can participate using commercial banks as a settlement accounts to participate. We can even go deeper into, say, securities can participate. So whatever requires cross-border payments, settlements in Africa can participate on PAPSS to facilitate instant local currency payments, settlements in Africa. Now you can see why this is so critical to the AfCFTA and why we're working so hard to ensure that we put this together quite quickly. So before I go into here, I want to just say that we are working, because this supports the AfCFTA, we are starting with 6 countries of the West African Monetary Zone, which are Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and the Gambia. At advanced stages of operationalization, we are pretty much there. Even for COVID, I think we would have actually gone live. But beyond that, we are hoping to be live for the first transaction to happen sometime in January 2021. So what we're doing now is we're connecting all the central banks of those 6 countries, and then commercial banks as well are connecting as well in those 6 countries. Some of the offerings that will be available from the start of operation will be instant payments. So you can make interbank payments instantly. Then we're looking at things like escrow service, which are really important for e-commerce, for example, where you can create an escrow service where the money you pay can be an escrow until the goods are received. Apps can release that once both parties are happy. The web payment gateway, so you can pay online services. Remittance services to make it easier to transfer money within countries, remittance. And those are some of the things that we're trying to put together initially to really support the AfCFTA and ensure that members like NACCIMA, private sector, can really participate and really grow their business by making payments readily available to the members. I want to explain to you at a high level how payments can flow within PAPSS. So a payer, say myself, I want to pay for goods and services in Ghana, and I'm in Nigeria. I'm in Ghana, I want to pay for goods in Nigeria. So I can say, okay, let me go to my bank, or I can use my online banking and my mobile app. So I want to send $1 million Naira from Nigeria to Ghana. All right, so I go to my bank and I make an instruction, or to my mobile phone, make an instruction, $1 million Naira to Ghana, to a business in Ghana. So that's about 15,000 CDs. So on my app, I can tell $1 million Naira, the recipient will receive the money, 50,000 CDs. Okay, that's fine. I make the payment. Now, the bank obviously will check that I have the funds, as they normally do, before they accept the payment. Then what the bank would do is to send a message to PAPSS, say, making a payment to a beneficiary in Ghana for this amount, and these are the details. So PAPSS will receive the message, check with the recipient bank to ensure that the details are fine and everything matches. And once they match and the account exists, we will then check, the PAPSS will check that the bank itself has enough funds in accounts in central banks. And once it's fine, we will transmit the payments. And then the receiving bank in Ghana will receive payment, will credit the account, and then we'll send a message back to say money has been received, and we will send it back to the recipient, the bank. All this happens in real time, instant payments. And then at the end of the day, we will then net all transactions between Nigeria and Ghana. And then we will then, the net settlement, the net position will then be sent to Ghana, to Nigeria, CBN Nigeria and Bank of Ghana. And let's say Ghana owes Nigeria, then we will then transfer the money from the Ghana settlement accounts with Afreximbank to the Nigeria accounts with Afreximbank. And that the loop then closes that way. So the benefit to this for the private sector is you don't worry about the settlement part. You don't worry about the foreign currency part. All you worry about is that your money can be sent fast, cheaper, instantly, and securely to recipient for your business, so you can proceed with your business. And then we, Afreximbank, as a settlement agent working with central banks, will then settle transactions at the end of the day. So this explains in writing what I explained in the picture. So I just want to wrap up by making a few notes about where we are. So like I said, we are almost there. Central banks of the 6 countries have signed agreements to proceed. We are integrating with central banks. We're halfway there. We plan for the first transaction to go live January 2021, if not earlier. And then we hope that by then, all the commercial banks within the 6 countries I mentioned, Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Gambia, will be connected. And members and companies within those regions can then begin to trade cross-border using PAPSS. What happens next post 6 countries once they're all connected and everything is good? We are quickly moving ahead with connecting other regions in Africa. And by the end of the year, we hope to have covered most of Africa because we truly believe that this supports the AfCFTA, and I've said so many times. And the quicker we can get the entire continent on this, the better for us. But we connect regions where it exists, East Africa, South Africa, whilst we proceed to connect individual countries. So in a summary, that's where we are for the private sector. Is really for you to be aware, NACCIMA, and to ensure that once your bank is connected, you can request the bank once they're connected. It's for you to really take advantage of this and really help drive your business as well. So that wraps up the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System presentation. I will quickly then summarize the other key initiatives that we are doing that also supports the AfCFTA, but also supports PAPSS in a way that we're trying to drive intra-African trade, and payments alone is important, but there are other things that we can do to sort of accelerate the adoption and accelerate the impact that PAPSS will have and the AfCFTA will have as well on the continent. So the trade information portal platform that we're trying to put together really addresses a key challenge that information in Africa is few and far between. We tend not to understand what products are produced, who manufactures them, who can we partner with, how can we expand into other markets in the continent, how can we find trusted partners, suppliers. All those things are information that are very critical to expand your business, find opportunities, and to really support the AfCFTA. So we're creating a digital platform that will provide an information-rich and up-to-date repository of data for exporters, importers, SME investors, banks, corporates, FIs, trade institutions, anyone who is looking to access African markets or expand its operation in Africa, and also to access financing that might exist within the continent. It's going to be creative for private sector like yourselves to find new business partners and be able to create opportunities for networking, access finance, reduce that information issue that we have by creating a one-stop portal that connects the entire continent across all products and services, facilitates B2B exchanges and information and deals that might exist. So that is sort of the vision. And in that way, once we put that together, we now have payments covered. Now we need to now have information as to who we can deal with. So let me just sort of touch on an example of what that the portal might provide, for example. So let's say there's a product level, we could say cocoa, for example. You can start from any side. You can start from products, from country, from region. But let's say you want to do cocoa, and the portal will tell you in Africa will export cocoa, or actually has cocoa as a product. And they will tell you also which countries in Africa has a need for cocoa and also can import cocoa as well. So we give you that holistic view. We'll then say, okay, but within those countries, what about the actual information at next level? What stages of the value chain and the production is focused? So from the raw material to finished goods, right? Who are the players in each of those intermediate sections? So maybe you're interested in just the processing part, maybe the finished good part, maybe your intermediate product. So who can I deal with? What is that mostly deal with this part of the processing section, the value chain? These are the companies that you can talk to that actually do that, and these are the countries that have demand for this. And then we'll give you things around the figures and the consumptions and the volume that are expected and imported and exported every year. So already you can begin to have a view of where I can find suppliers, what are my potential off-takers and potential outputs, where I can find inputs to those looking for. Then we'll also be able to provide an opportunity to say, well, if you want to access finance for cocoa, these are Africa-focused providers of finance. You can put a request in, you can find opportunities. Even if it's investment providers for private sector, you can begin to have that connectivity with those information financiers and investment potential providers around that product. And then to now bring it all together, we're creating a comprehensive B2B lounge where we'll say we bring together all these various components from all companies, from all countries, from all product levels, value chain, financiers, trade information, trade development companies into a B2B business-to-business area to say, well, as a buyer, can I post a request? I'm looking for X amount of tons of cocoa, of cotton, of palm kernels, and I put it in the platform and see who can provide that for me, who can source that for me. I can source suppliers and manufacturers. I can find the value chain actors, so intermediate products, who is involved in that. Well, maybe you're a seller, you have capacity and you want to showcase about your capacity, you want people to offtake, to buy that off you. You can access already buying offers in the system, you can find importers, you can find other opportunities for networking. And we can, within our algorithms, we can match you as a seller with the potential buyers as well, based on your information that you're looking for in your products. And we can match you and tell you, well, somewhere in Nigeria, you produce this, you have corn, there's someone in Madagascar who has a need for corn, and then we can begin to match those things together. So we're actually This portal will actually be launched as early as beginning of January next year, if not earlier, December next month. So we're actually at the stage of finalizing development and inputs. And I just want to just give you sort of a viewpoint of what it looks like. So this is sort of the B2B functionality of the portal, where we bring in various business components and financiers into a single place. So you can see you have buyers and sellers and matching services and trade shows that things that will help you sort of find the perfect match for your company, your business. So you can begin to post buy requests, for example, and find sellers and find buyers as well. So some of the things you can do is post a buy request. So put information about what you may want to buy. You can find suppliers and manufacturers you're looking for. So trying to find a manufacturer for certain kind of products, furniture. I can go in there and then find them. And then the value chain actors and providers as well. You can find that. Then you look for financiers in Africa. We can find financiers that are targeted to your business as well. And for sellers, again, you can showcase your products and services, what it is that you do. You're looking to find new markets for. You can look for buying offers that people are placed. You can source for importers and buyers. You can find freight providers to transport goods across border. And then again, look for preferred financiers as well for your business. So some of the key things that we're kind of offering. And so here, this is an example of trying to put your requests. So if you want to put a request for a buy request, you should put in your products. You describe it, some pictures, and just say, listen, I'm looking to buy this type of goods. And then once you do that, we can find a match for you, and we can present you a potential match across the continent. So again, a perfect way for you to showcase your products, obviously, is like the trade shows, and the intra-African trade fair, which is happening in Kigali next year. Some way, but then we'll also provide you with other perfect events and avenues for you to showcase your goods, and then be able to tell you some of the key places for you to go and attend to find also potential partners. But in the platform itself, we'll have everything you need, information you need to sort of move forward and on what you want to do. So like I said, we're looking now to onboard. NACCIMA will be a great partner for us on board. I know that you're doing a lot of things for your members, and we were able to complement what you're doing and to be able to help you find each other, but help you also find partners outside of Nigeria and outside of NACCIMA, and present you to the global audience, Pan-African audience, and help you really take advantage of the AfCFTA as well. So we're really excited about the opportunities that this partnership with NACCIMA presents. And I think you really benefit from this initiative that we're putting forward here. So let me also touch on a few things as well. So quickly, the Trade Regulatory Information Portal, again, complements the trade portal that I just described. So what it is that, in summary, when you have to move goods across border, information around what you require might not be readily available to everyone. And again, like I said, we're talking about the AfCFTA now, so we're talking Pan-African. So we're trying to provide a single source of regulation and requirements for all trades, goods and services across Africa. Put it together in one platform. So if you say, I want to move cocoa from Nigeria to Senegal, I'm not really sure what I need to do that. You go to the portal, put in your two countries and what you want to do, and provide you with up-to-date information as to what you may require to do that. That really complements that information that we talked about, and really helps you. This will be updated regularly, so as you then get new business opportunities across Africa, information will be easily available to you. So again, like I said, this is actually pretty much done. So by next month we should be live, and we'll be reaching out to NACCIMA to be early participants on this as well. So example here is trying to, I'm in Nigeria, I want to export to Ghana, I want to export some palm nuts, and I want to find information required to do that. So I start putting information I require, and then what data are you looking for? Your duties, regulations, controls, or shipping documents. And as we'll be adding more information as we get them to be more specific into what exactly a local code that you're looking to actually to export. So once you go through that, we confirm what you've actually selected. So you're going from Nigeria to Ghana, and then these are the palm nuts and kernel you're looking to do. And they will provide you with the duties they selected. So these are some of the duties that you may need to pay if you're doing that. And there's a regulation that exists between Nigeria and Ghana as well. And some of the controls that might exist, if any, there isn't much. And then some of the shipping documents you may require to do that are also listed for you. And like I said, as we add more information type, as you get feedback from members as to what kind of information you want to see, you can also add them quite easily on this. But this really makes it easy now for members to say, okay, I have a single source of information across Africa in terms of regulations or what I need. So this works if you're going from Africa to a country outside Africa. You can do that as well. If you're going from Africa to east to the west, east to the south, it will tell you exactly what you require to do that. So again, like I said, that will be live again next month. So we look forward to reaching out to NACCIMA as well to sort of work with you on making that success and making that beneficial to you. The final one that I want to drive home then is MANSA. MANSA is already live and operational. It's Africa's due diligence data platform. So the background to this is that compliance costs has been high, and it hasn't been easy to conduct KYC checks, so your customer checks and due diligence checks on counterparties in Africa. The high cost of compliance and the risk of compliance, or the perceived risk of KYC in Africa, has caused the exit of a lot of international banks from the African trade space. And bringing them back in will require a considered effort from everyone. Afreximbank is playing a lead role on this. We've implemented this digital platform, an African customer due diligence repository platform, to serve as a single source of primary data for conducting due diligence checks on counterparties in Africa, to help reduce the current inefficiencies with different institutions collecting information from you. So you want to do business with someone in this country, I give my information. I go to another country, I give them information. Well, we're saying you don't have to do that. We have a centralized source of KYC information now for Africa, powered by Afreximbank, verified by Afreximbank. So we should direct everyone to say, my details is in MANSA. Go and check me out if you want to know who I am. So this would then create that trust in the ecosystem, address the de-risking issues, and bring back those foreign investors who have left because it was difficult for them to conduct this due diligence. We've received so many feedback and appreciation from foreign and international financiers who want to make it easier and cheaper for them to conduct these checks. And by NACCIMA members being on board this platform, it will be easier for you to be found by some of these institutions who want to actually fund some projects in Africa. What it will do as well is to promote international trade with Africa, because if we have a standard that is based on international standard of KYC and CDD checks across Africa, it will create that trust, lower the risk and the cost of compliance, and it will promote good governance practices. So we understand that is a standard that everyone has to follow, and that promotes good governance and provides visibility and insight into Africa's trade and investment platform, information and climate. So in the broad level, we will reduce the high cost of KYC, CDD, and therefore a high cost of trade finance in Africa. We will fight money laundering, and fraud, because information is now open and current in its trust. And it will enable African institutions and corporates like yourself to meet and trade each other with a level of trust. So if you find an institution that you want to do business with, and the institution is already a Mansa and you're a Mansa, you can easily check out who they are, give you that initial trust and confidence, ability based on your Mansa information for you to move forward. So like I said, this information is operational and live on Mansa Africa. So an example of what you see already, we have a lot of information there already, banks across different sections and continents of Africa. So here you can see Afreximbank listed already. So if you're interested in knowing more about us and do some checks on us for maybe potential business opportunity, again, we're listed. You can see here that you can search by country, by region, East Africa, West Africa, North Africa. You can search by industry, or just search by name of who you're looking for. And information that you sort of check out identification, so who the company is, ownership, management, who actually owns them, what are the shareholders, business information, so what are the product services that they're into, branches, affiliates, compliance information, these are your standard KYC information, financial information, these are financial reports and annual reports, and just to give you that feel about how viable they are. So these are quite comprehensive information that we ask for, but these are built according to international best practice, and it creates that standard across Africa. So we're really looking forward. This underpins the PAPSS, because to participate on PAPSS, you have to have a Mansa ID, an African entity identifier, which is a unique number that identifies you on Mansa, because we're able to create a trust that we know who you are and you've been validated. And we're looking forward to getting NACCIMA as well on board on this. Even within your NACCIMA itself, your own platforms where we can integrate to Mansa, and within yourselves can begin to do checks on each other, whether it's locally in Nigeria, whether it's in your region as well, as you move forward. So let me summarize quickly by saying that the ecosystem now, so how it all works together is bringing it all together by what I said earlier about each one. Let's say a company in Nigeria goes onto the information portal to identify markets and potential buyers. You find a potential buyer somewhere in Senegal. They have what you're looking for as a product. Okay, now you want to understand if you can work with them, right? Because Senegal is a different country. You're not sure who they are, so you go to Mansa. In Mansa, you can conduct your due diligence, a KYC on them, really understand who they are, and then you feel better about working with them. Then you want to move forward with transactions, so you say, okay, I need some financing, right, to be able to move this forward. Well, you can access financiers and chain information portal, like I said, but also the bank has a whole range of facilities that are suited for different sectors and for different purposes that you can access through the bank's customer loan application, which is also linked to this. So you can access financiers from commercial banks, from Afreximbank, for example. And then once you're able to secure finance, then you want to then move the goods or import from Senegal, or you move from Nigeria to Senegal. The platform, on regulation, will not tell you exactly what you need, what the regulations are applicable for your export of goods, what are laws, licenses, like I said, duties, regulations you need to be aware of. So at least you have a whole view. This is all from a single platform, right? You haven't left your seat yet. And then once you figure that and you want to make payments, this is where the Pan-African payment system comes in, and you don't have to go to the Malam to find dollars or find somewhere to find foreign currency from your online banking. Stay on the same seat. You can push a button, send your money in Naira to the corporate in Senegal, and they receive their money instantly, and that will conclude your transaction. So that is the vision that we have to truly, fully support the AfCFTA. So like I said, we are currently well ahead of schedule. We're hoping to get all these things live by January 2021, the PAPSS, the trade portal, the trade regulatory portal. And we look forward to working closely with NACCIMA. We're excited about that to work with you, to onboard you on this, and to really facilitate your expansion of your businesses using some of the tools that we're providing. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope this is very useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emeka, for the presentation and showing us the entire digital ecosystem being developed by Afreximbank to support African trade and to support the implementation of the AfCFTA. Your presentation certainly generated a lot of interest, so stick around. There's a few questions that I'll be firing to you from the participants. First, maybe a general one that maybe I can take care of. There's a few questions asking whether the presentation or the virtual event will be made available to participants. Yes, it will be. It will be available on the virtual trade fair platform immediately after this event. So please log into the virtual trade fair platform to access today's sessions as well as the presentations. Okay, the next one, I'm going to take it maybe in tranches because there's quite a few questions here, Emeka. I think the one you've answered, but maybe you can touch on it. It's a question regarding the time it will take to settle a transaction. So how long will it take for payment to clear after a transaction has been made between a buyer and a seller in different countries?
Thank you, Yusuf. Yeah, so like I said earlier, the payment is instant payment. So if you're moving from Nigeria to Ghana, the payment will be instant. So we're talking minutes in terms of the money being available at the bank in Ghana. So that's the answer to that question. Now, there may be instances where certain countries have different requirements. So one thing to add to this is that we are also adhering to domestic laws of each country. So central banks are our partners in this. So central banks have a requirement, for example, where they want things to be delayed for a reason. That's a different issue, but it's been designed to be fully instant so that the payment is done in minutes. Yusuf?
All right, thanks, Emeka. Moving on to the next question, and again, I'll combine the questions. It's from Samuel Nsingi, and the question is, can PAPSS be used by third parties like fintech startups and also e-commerce platforms? If so, what would be the process to consume the API?
Great, that's a great question. So PAPSS is designed to sort of be the hotbed of innovation. So like I said earlier, PAPSS is a rail that will make innovation possible. So we're truly encouraging fintechs and startups to participate and provide some of the fantastic solutions cross-border. So for them to participate, I think is them in the country where we are currently in, so 6 countries, they need to get in touch with us in PAPSS, get in touch, and then we'll walk them through the process of participating and participating. There are some forms and some questions they need to answer, but just get in touch with us. So we'll put information at the end of the presentation to them. They can send email to us, and then we'll pick up with them. But to participate in terms of practicality is they will sign up to PAPSS, and then they can facilitate payments through PAPSS. But because fintechs generally do not have enough members have accounts with the local RTGS of central banks, they will obviously make settlement through the commercial banks. But they will welcome their participation, and they can reach out to us, and we can pick up from there.
All right, thanks, Emeka. Thanks, Emeka. Maybe moving on to the next question. It's regarding cross-border card payments in Africa and how PAPSS will address that issue. The comment here is the bulk of cards issued in Africa are international, your Visa, MasterCard, and the like, and they are mostly settled internationally based on agreements with banks. So how will PAPSS solve this problem?
Right, that's a good question. So, like I said earlier, one of the issues that Africa has and we're solving is the lack of rails, the payment rails that exist between countries. So what's happened is that we're leveraging on rails that exist that have been provided by MasterCard and Visa to make payments across border. And obviously those rails are obviously designed to be settled internationally. So what will happen is that with the rails currently in place now within Africa, those fintechs you mentioned, the commercial banks you mentioned, they can now begin to put forward card solutions that take advantage of those rails. So that will be intra-African card payment solutions that can make it easier to ride on PAPSS to facilitate payments across border. So those are the evolution of what we'll see from having a PAPSS solution in place. So we hope that in the near future, not to the future, we begin to see card solutions that really leverage on the rails of PAPSS and maybe working in collaboration with the bigger players like Visa and MasterCard in the collaborative ability to really focus on providing better service and better cost efficiencies for African businesses.
All right, thanks, Emeka. There's still a number of questions, so please bear with us. I think there's very important questions being asked here.
Yeah.
The next one is on, I'll combine it again. It relates to both the trade information portal as well as the trade regulations platform. Essentially, how does it support services-based trade, non-commodity services? So for instance, a fintech in Nigeria wants to set up in Ghana. Can they identify opportunities through the trade information portal? Will they be able to see the regulations on the regulatory platform?
Thank you, Yusuf. Yes. This is, again, important questions. There's a lot of focus on commodities and not really on services. But yes, the idea is to cover products, services, investments across Africa. So for a service-based provider, like a fintech, what they'll do is, on a trade information portal, for example, they can begin to look for potential partners, right, who they can work with at that service level, right, based on the regulation of the country. So if I say, for example, the trade regulatory will tell you that to open a banking, say a bank, or to do a fintech business, say in Egypt, you need to have an Egyptian partner, right, that maybe owns half of the shares, for example. And then that information on the trade information portal, you can begin to look for potential partners for that business, right? Or that fintech providers that you can partner with to extend your service across border. So we fully intend to provide coverage across products and services because we know services are really the heart of cross-border trade in Africa. So it will definitely cover those, and it will make it easier to understand the regime of the services, which is actually not easy to find, and make it easier for you to find prospective partners and also financiers who can fund that. So if you then want to expand to Egypt as a fintech, then once you find your partner and you negotiate, are there financing available, maybe between trade institutions that can support that? So we want to at least bring in that ecosystem together. If nothing at all, at least you can post a request on the information portal, and potential financiers, potential partners can seek you out, and that connection can happen. So the short answer is yes, and the long answer is yes, we will have information on the portal in due time.
All right, thanks, Emeka. We're running a bit out of time, so maybe I'm going to take another 2 or 3 questions here. There are a few that are sort of related, so I'll try to combine them. But the next question comes from Opeyemi. And he's asking if the central banks of AfCFTA member states automatically sign on to PAPSS, or is there another process for getting a member state to participate in PAPSS?
All right, it's a good question. So central banks, so the 6 central banks that have signed up have all signed the PAPSS agreements to participate. We are working with the African Union to make that a bit easier. So today, what will happen is for countries to participate, we'll sign an agreement perhaps to do that. But in the near future, we're working to create a regulatory environment and have that sort of agreed in the African Union level in the AfCFTA to make it easier for members to participate. But today, until that is done, today it's as simple as we have agreements that have been agreed. The country's central bank will review it, sign it, and that's as simple as that. But obviously in the future, working with the AU and the AfCFTA negotiations, we tend to make that a bit more simpler so that once you sign into the AfCFTA, then it's easy as being able to connect. But for now, it's just to sign up to the agreement, and that's it. That's all that's required.
All right, thanks, Emeka. We've certainly run out of time, but what we will do to ensure that the questions are answered, these questions will be emailed to you, Emeka, and we'd appreciate if you could assist with some responses. But maybe to close, and before I leave you, if you could just remind us of the pilot countries, the names of those pilot countries, because there were a few questions.
Yeah, sure. So we're starting with the 6 countries of the West African Monetary Zone, which are Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, the Guinea, and the Gambia. So Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and the Gambia. Those are the 6 pilot countries we're starting with. But we'll quickly expand. Like I said, by the end of the year, next year, we hope to cover most of the continent. But once the pilot country goes well, then we're expanding quite quickly to other regions as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emeka. And we will certainly send you those other questions for you to address, so we can keep you busy as well. And thank you very much for the very detailed and insightful presentation. You can see just from the multitude of questions how exciting it was and how interested people are in some of these digital innovations that will help us support the implementation of the AfCFTA. So thank you, Emeka. We can then move on to our next presenter, is also from the African Export-Import Bank, Mr. Gainmo Zanamwe, who is a senior manager in our intra-African trade initiative, who will be presenting on some of the bank's initiatives to support the AfCFTA beyond the digital initiatives that Emeka just presented on. Mr. Zanamwe has more than 14 years of experience on trade and industrialization matters. And before joining the bank, he worked as a regional trade advisor under the Commonwealth Secretariat Hubs and Spokes project, and was posted to the SADC Secretariat, the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat, and Federated States of Micronesia, where, among others, he provided support on industrialization, private sector development, regional integration, export promotion, investment promotion, trade facilitation, trade policy, and development of trade, as well as capacity building. Gainmo will be doing a presentation on some of the bank's initiatives developed to support the AfCFTA. So without any delay and to try and make up some time, Gainmo, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusuf. And I know time is of essence. I will just go straight to my presentation, and I will focus on the key initiatives that we have to support the CFTA. And as you probably have heard, I think the CFTA creates enormous opportunities for the continent. So I will not spend much time on this. You have heard the story that it will actually increase intra-African trade. And what I want to highlight is that for Africa, the CFTA is actually a panacea to some of the challenges that we are facing, including the COVID-19 issues, because other developed countries, they've got a lot of financial resources to be able to support their countries to recover from COVID-19. But I think we need to do more in the continent by using the CFTA as a leverage to support the recovery of the continent from the pandemic, and also to use this as an opportunity to promote the industrialization agenda and catalyze the development of regional value chains so that we can actually, as a continent, be able to produce some of the products that we are currently importing from abroad that were severely affected by the pandemic, especially the disruption in supply chain. So these are some of the things that I just wanted to highlight, especially the importance of the CFTA and what it could do in terms of the industrialization agenda. And I will highlight a few initiatives and products that we have to support the CFTA. And I will focus on a few ones due to time limitations. So the first one that I want to talk about is the adjustment facility. As you probably may be aware, the bank was requested by Summit to work with trade and finance ministers to develop the statutes for the adjustment facility and the resource mobilization plan. And the bank has already committed $1 billion to the adjustment facility. And we are now working with the AU and the AfCFTA Secretariat to put in place a broader adjustment facility where we will mobilize resources from other development finance institutions as well as donors. So this work is already going on, and we are working with a number of experts who are assisting us in this process. We envisage that the adjustment facility will have two windows, the public sector facility and the private sector facility. With regards to the private sector facility, it will basically focus on supporting the private sector, including the NACCIMA members, to develop competitiveness and upgrade their productive capacity and diversify their production. And it will assist, for example, with financing the importation of equipment or raw materials, the development of regional value chains, and even some of the workers that may need to be retrained, those that could be affected by the CFTA. Then the public sector facility will focus on tariff revenue loss. As you remove tariffs, as you liberalize under the CFTA, the government will lose tariff revenue. So the facility will be able to cushion the countries from those losses, which at the moment is estimated at between 3 to 4 billion. There will also be costs in terms of the reforms that countries will need to undertake to implement the agreement, as well as sectoral support to those sectors that may be affected negatively by the CFTA. They will need to be supported. And those sectors that also have got the potential to expand, they need to be supported. And this is basically the adjustment facility. It has got those two windows that I talked about. It covers all those components: revenue loss, transposition, support to workers, firms, and sectors. We are looking at mobilizing both debt, grants, and possibly contributions from member states, and they could also come through import levy. So that's basically what we have on the adjustment facility. What I want to urge the NACCIMA members is to also ask any questions that they have, or provide some views in terms of what exactly are the key adjustment needs that you are looking at. What are the key needs that your members are looking for, so that we can also take that on board as we design the adjustment facility, working with the AU and the AfCFTA Secretariat. So we'd welcome any views, comments, even after this presentation. I think feel free to write to us, we'll take those on board on the adjustment facility. The other initiative that I want to talk about briefly is the Afreximbank African Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme. Forget about the long name. It's basically a transit guarantee scheme or a transit bond that we will be issuing to support the movement of goods throughout the continent. Right now, the only regional economic community that is implementing an effective transit guarantee scheme is the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA. ECOWAS, yes, there's a transit scheme, but it's not really operating effectively. It's not even operating as a regional transit scheme. There are a number of challenges. I will not go into those due to time limitations, but what the bank has basically done is to assist regional economic communities like ECOWAS to implement an effective transit guarantee scheme. We are currently working with the ECOWAS Commission to ensure that the region has an effective transit guarantee scheme. We have also engaged with COMESA. We just concluded negotiations with COMESA. We'll start working with COMESA shortly to issue guarantees under the COMESA region. And we are also working with the African Union to ensure that the scheme is rolled out at the continental level to support the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So what the transit scheme does is that it provides a transit guarantee that will facilitate the movement of goods. It reduces the delays and the costs, thereby ensuring that there are cost savings for the private sector. So to try and put into practice what I'm talking about, if you look at this route all the way from Cape Town to Cairo, or the Cape to Cairo route, that one in red, you realize that these are the routes that will actually support and facilitate intra-African trade. And most of the intra-African trade is actually taking place within these zones. So you'll be able to actually get countries move products from all the way to Cape Town or Botswana to the upper segments of the continent. But for that to happen, you need a seamless transit bond. You can also look at it from the Lagos all the way to Abidjan. You need a single transit guarantee scheme to be able to move your products. So that's basically what we've done. So for you to be able to move your goods from Lagos through Benin, Togo, Ghana to Abidjan, you only use just one transit bond, as opposed to the current situation whereby you have to get a bond in Benin, another one in Togo, another one in Ghana, which is very costly and also causes a lot of delays. And this is the one that I was talking about, the Cape to Cairo. So with the one transit bond, you can actually move your goods from South Africa to Egypt, and this will support the CFTA. The other initiative that I want to touch on is the Export Trading Companies Initiative. This is basically a concept that we borrowed from Asia, in particular Japan and South Korea, where export trading companies played a vital role in facilitating exports and industrialization. And we had big export trading companies such as Marubeni, Mitsui, Mitsubishi, Toyota. They also started as export trading companies, even though they've now diversified and they are now investment companies. We also had the Samsung, which also started as an export trading company. And we studied what these companies actually did to support exports. And we realized that it was actually through these export trading companies that Japan and South Korea were able to promote intra-regional trade and industrialization. They were playing a vital role in terms of aggregating products, bringing products from all over the world, processing those products in their respective countries, taking them to market, looking for market information, assisting SMEs to be integrated into supply chains. So we are essentially trying to do the same within the context of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We will support the emergence and expansion of those ETCs that already exist so that they can play a vital role in terms of aggregating products from smallholder farmers, from SMEs, even from informal cross-border traders, so that they achieve economies of scale. They will also provide market intelligence, and they can even assist large corporates. And sometimes it's effective for large corporates to focus on their business of manufacturing or production, and then they work through export trading companies, which can actually assist them to market the goods and deal with some of the complex trade regulations and penetrate those difficult markets. So this is basically what we have under the Export Trading Companies Initiative. We also have got a range of facilitation and financing services that we provide. We are also developing a model regulatory framework that will also harmonize the regulations within the continent, and there will also be provisions on incentives that may need to be provided to export trading companies to emerge within the continent. I will also highlight the importance of infrastructure. As you probably can see on the picture there, this is what some of our roads actually look like. And with this situation, we are saying we are trying to facilitate intra-African trade. But as you can see with that car or truck, we will not be able to push a lot of intra-African trade using these types of roads. So we need to do more in terms of closing the infrastructure gap in terms of trade enabling infrastructure. And the bank is now started to intensify its activities around this space. We conducted a study starting with SADC on trade carrying infrastructure, which covered all the key infrastructure. We will now be going into other regions like ECOWAS, EST as well, to ensure that we identify all the gaps in trade carrying infrastructure, whether it's the roads, railways, bridges, ports, one-stop border posts, single windows, way bridges. We are looking at the whole chain to ensure that there are requisite infrastructure to carry trade in an efficient and cost-effective manner. We are also working with our partners to develop railway networks. There is also an initiative we are implementing in Ghana and also Guinea, Liberia Railway, and these are some of the things that we are doing, and we have already supported a number of infrastructure projects. So this is very important to ensure that there is infrastructure not only to take our products through the ports to outside the continent, but we need to put those internal networks, whether it's rail or road, to connect African countries so that we are able to trade with each other. So we need to work on this. And this is also what we need to do in terms of truck stops. As you can see on the left, there is chaos, but on the right, this is the situation that we prefer. And this also as well for transit of goods. Another initiative that I just want to briefly highlight is the Africa Quality Assurance Centers. We have a number of challenges within the continent as well as in global markets, whereby most of our goods that we produce, they fail to enter other African markets or European or American markets due to lack of compliance with standards. And the number of products that have been rejected in these global markets have actually been increasing. And the bank decided to intervene in this area by establishing internationally accredited Africa Quality Assurance Centers. These are basically testing, certification, and inspection services that we provide through labs. We also provide the training to ensure that all the players along the value chain, they have the requisite knowledge on how to handle their products and ensure that they meet the safety requirements. We are also working with a number of players, especially in Nigeria, to build the first pilot Africa Quality Assurance Center, but we've also identified others in Egypt, in Ethiopia, and Tanzania. Then we are also working with the African Standardization Organization, ASO, the AU, and our partner in Germany, PTB, to develop the Africa Quality Policy, which has now been submitted to the AU for adoption. And that will help to ensure that we have a common approach to the development of the quality infrastructure within the continent. And we have also worked with our partners to harmonize standards in the automotive sector, as well as in the medical equipment and pharmaceutical sector, especially to address some of the issues related to COVID. And we will also be working with the AU and the AfCFTA Secretariat to continue to harmonize these standards. Another key sector that I want to highlight, which is critical to supporting the CFTA, is the automotive sector. We know all the key challenges affecting the automotive industry. I will not go into that, but what I want to highlight is that the automotive industry has a lot of potential because it will catalyze the development of other sectors, the petrochemical industry, electronics, leather, steel industry. In a single car, there are more than 30,000 components, and this provides a very good opportunity to actually develop regional value chain. And in this context, the bank has developed its automotive strategy, which focuses on regional value chains, auto financing, automotive policies, and capacity building. And the bank will be working with the African Automotive Association and other OEMs to support the development of the automotive industry. We have seen it in Asia using the ASEAN FTA. They managed to actually develop a viable automotive industry where countries were allocated to produce particular vehicles. For example, Thailand was focusing originally on pickups, and Indonesia was also focusing on SUVs. Malaysia was focusing originally on cars. Within the continent, we believe that it's actually possible to actually increase the development of regional value chains and use what we call the African Auto Pact, which is basically a continental strategy that will enable countries to collaborate in the production of vehicles. We believe that with the Auto Pact, we will be able to actually increase the market of vehicles from 1 million to more than 5 million, and that will actually make the CFTA more meaningful. The other issues that I want to highlight are also very important, especially for SMEs. And this is the training that we will be undertaking in partnership with the International Trade Center to train them on how to export within the continent. This will be a very practical training. It's actually more or less hand-holding to provide the information that is required by the SMEs, even large corporates, on how they can actually trade under the CFTA. And we are starting with Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Rwanda this year, but more countries will be covered next year. The other initiative that I want to conclude with is the industrial parks. We realize that within the continent, it may take ages to put the requisite infrastructure that is required to support our industrialization agenda. But by building industrial parks or agro-processing zones, we will be able to actually put in place the requisite infrastructure that is required to facilitate industrialization and intra-African trade. So the bank has been working on industrial parks in Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Malawi, Benin, Gabon, Togo, and we believe that this will actually play a vital role in terms of facilitating the production of agricultural products and light manufactures. And these are some of the products that will actually be traded under the CFTA, because under the CFTA, the continent is also promoting value addition. We want to move away from dependence on export of commodities. We need to add value to our commodities to ensure that we've got more products that we can actually trade with each other within the continent. So that's the context in which we are implementing our industrial parks. So to conclude, we believe that the CFTA creates tremendous opportunities for increasing intra-African trade and investment. We believe that we have got the requisite products and interventions to support the CFTA to ensure that the member states as well as the NACCIMA members can actually derive maximum benefits from the agreement. And to quote His Excellency Obasanjo, what he said in 26 is that unless Africa increases intra-African trade to at least 50% of its total trade, it will not be fully liberated. We want to work with NACCIMA and other stakeholders to ensure that we increase intra-African trade from the current level of 16% and at least towards the aspirational figure that has been highlighted by President Obasanjo. With these few words, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Gaynor, for that presentation detailing the range of initiatives that the bank is deploying to support implementation of the AfCFTA, covering not only, as we saw earlier, the digital innovations, but also practical financing, as well as capacity building and support initiatives to help African businesses, Nigerian businesses, NACCIMA partners to take advantage of the opportunities created by this huge new market. We are running slightly behind time. We can maybe take one or two questions. So maybe just to quickly turn to the questions submitted by panelists. We have a question here, Gaynor. Is there a pillar to promote intra and extra African investment? I know you spoke extensively about trade. So the question here is, what is being done to promote intra and extra Africa investments?
Okay, thank you very much, Yusuf. Yes, that's an excellent question. So the bank has been working on promoting both intra-African trade and extra-African trade, but we are also working on, we've got a number of initiatives and financial products that also support intra-African investments. And we also provide a range of guarantees to enable African investors, African companies that want to venture and invest in other African countries. We've got a range of financial products that we actually provide to ensure that they are able to invest in other African countries. And we also are currently working with the AU on the investment protocol that is being negotiated. And in anticipation of that, we are also creating a strategy that we will also use to develop additional interventions that will be used to support the intra-African investment component. So we are basically looking at both intra-African trade and investment, as well as intra-African, as well as extra-African trade and investment. So those aspects are basically covered by the bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gaynor. And thank you for those insights. I think in the interest of time, we'll be moving on to the next presentation. But like I said, it will be submitted to the respective panelists who will respond via email. And again, just to remind participants that the recording of this session will be made available on the virtual trade fair platform immediately after the event. So please feel free to log in, get the presentations, watch the recording, and reach out to any of the speakers to have your questions answered. So turning to the next presenter, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ahmed Al-Awa, who is the Chief Strategic Advisory Unit, Information and Communications Technology in the Economic Commission for Africa, to also present some of the UNECA initiatives to support the African Continental Free Trade Area. Mr. Al-Awa is the current Chief of the Strategic Advisory Services Unit. His role involves advising on current state-of-the-art and future-looking information, communications, and data technologies of potential value to the organization. He also organizes, plans, and oversees strategic IT activities and projects at the Economic Commission for Africa. He has over 16 years of experience working on the design, implementation, support, and management of global ICT infrastructure and application systems in both a technical and project program management capacity. Prior to joining the ECA, he worked for several international organizations, including the International Atomic Energy Agency, Dell Incorporated, and NACCIMA Incorporated. He is associated with the Association for Computing Machinery, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, the Association of Information Science and Technology, and is currently pursuing a Master's of Business Administration from the University of Fredericton, and holds a BTech in Information Systems from the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology in Canada, along with many other international IT certifications. Mr. Al-Awa, it's a great pleasure to hand over to you to deliver your presentation.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. Much appreciated. So the initial plan was to do a live demo of the African Trade Exchange. We'll do that, but in the interest of time, we prepared some slides, very few slides, to help provide an overview of the tool. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can see the presentation. Yes. And African Trade Exchange is, we've seen, let me just reverse the screen. We've heard about a lot of the different components from the colleagues today, and trade portals as well. So what I wanted to show you today is the African Trade Exchange Portal's objective here. This is another component in the overall ecosystem. We've seen the regulatory, the payment aspects. Now what we're seeing with the African Trade Exchange Portal is an online business-to-business e-commerce platform that will have AfCFTA rules built into it to actually facilitate transactions within the AfCFTA framework, with the rules of the AfCFTA built into the portal, allowing for suppliers and buyers to have these rules embedded in the transactions that they do and provide them guidance as they go through these transactions so that they can understand how to best leverage these exchanges in a way that not only improves the cross-border trade, but also provides quality products. We've heard the issues of standards. So there'll be verification of those standards and make sure that there's an efficient transaction that happens at reduced average trading costs of the AfCFTA, but also the different information and services that are provided from various partners across the continent. We've heard from EMIC, for example, the TRIP system, the TIP system, and others. So we're looking into having integrations between all these different components. So you have a one-stop shop where you can have, while you're doing transactions, these elements are embedded within the transaction itself between the supplier and the buyer. The key features of the African Trade Exchange Portal is on the first page, the registration of suppliers will be only allowed for suppliers from the continent. So if you are not registered or licensed to operate within the African continent, you will not be able to register as a supplier on the portal. However, buyers will be welcome from all over the world. Anyone can register as a buyer. but there is a buyer verification process similar to a supplier verification process, which will look at verification of the supplier and buyers themselves, but also from a supplier's point of view, the products themselves with the quality standards, as well as rules of origin and certificates of origin and things of that nature. Registration of products on the portal will be based on the HS code system, because we built it into the system itself. So as suppliers provide products and they register these products, they'll be asked to identify the product categorizations based on HS code systems, which will then automatically, the portal will tag the relevant HS code, which will be beneficial in terms of completing the transaction down the road when you look at issues of logistics, shipping, and the others, and customs and taxes and whatnot. Also, you'll provide detailed product information similar to what we see with other B2B and B2C products. But here we'll also make sure that there's also relevant information around the product from the different systems that we've heard about today as well, to make sure that as you're looking at the products, you're looking at the transaction, you also have information on what kind of taxes and customs are applicable, what kind of AfCFTA rules will help you deal in transacting with this product, and also what kind of trade agreements are applicable in this case, whether it's AfCFTA or others such as COMESA and ECOWAS and whatnot. Now, and this is sort of just give you a very rough idea, but here's what the portal looks like. It will be ready by January, similar to many of the other systems we heard today. This is the landing page, which I've reloaded now so we can see what it looks like when you first come up. So these product categories, even though they will have friendly names, they will have HS code built into them. Look into the different codes that are available. And on the homepage itself, you'll be able to go into detailed product categories in depth, again, based on the HS codes that are applicable. You'll be able to have some featured products from verified suppliers always, and you'll be able to look at these products, and I'll show you shortly how you can see the different products and the details provided. But also, the important thing that the platform will be promoting is that you can trade on this platform with confidence and ensuring that you can leverage the AfCFTA rules to the maximum. You have verified buyers, the latest buyers from across the continent and what they're selling, the names of the company and whatnot, and then verified sellers as well and what they're doing and what they're offering as well. The trade leads here, you're looking at buy and sell offers. We've heard this spoken in America's presentation in the TIP system, I believe, with the TRIP system. Here, you're also looking at it from a transaction nature, and there'll be integration between the system that verified suppliers are able to offer different offerings. For example, in this case, someone is selling Allied branded computers from Burkina Faso. This is all mock data. This is the prototype. And here's someone oil use refurbishment system from Niger. And you'll also see buy offers where people say, I'm interested in buying so-and-so. And my interest, for example, is to look at locations where AfCFTA is applicable, or where COMESA is applicable, or where ECOWAS is applicable. And the data will be built into the portal to allow for this kind of transactions to happen and the information they need. And so then there's just information about ATEX, and also there'll be information about the different services and information portals that our partners are offering as well. So if we look at very quickly here, for example, agriculture materials, you'll be able to see many agricultural materials, and then you can be filtered by country from where they're being provided, or you can filter by the AfCFTA agreement and only verified suppliers with a certain quality standard, and so on. And then you can go in and look at the details of each of these products to understand what they're offering. So for example, if I'm looking for South African wine, I can see here's the cost for a 40-foot container. This particular supplier is not looking for a minimum order. The supply capacity is 32 tons. You have rules of origin. So this will be verification that the product satisfies the requirements for AfCFTA exemption. They'll also be able to upload their rules of origin, their certificate of origin for the product in particular. Then you have detailed details. So in this case, it's unbranded and unlabeled from South Africa. Per unit price, if you order the 4,500 unit minimum. Different details, it's dry, it's semi-sweet or so on, and then the alcohol content and so on. So you go through all of this and you're able to see what kind of labeling is available in this private labeling option and so on, and the supplier themselves. And you go through this and then you'll be able to see the seller's profile and reviews of the sellers based on what others have been speaking about this particular product. So this is, in brief, in the interest of time, this is what the ATEX is, the way it works, and how it differs from other portals. And we will be providing this presentation, which will have screenshots from the portal, as the current system is not ready online. It will be ready by January, which has all the different components. But one of the things that will be important to understand is how this fits into the overall ecosystem that we've heard today, and that others are working on as well. So there's a market exchange platform, which, the idea here is really to connect the buyer and the seller and allow them to make offers and transact with each other directly. Make sure that the AfCFTA market access conditions are built into the system or integrated with the system, which allows the suppliers and buyers to look at each other's products from an AfCFTA lens and other agreements that are relevant as well, so that as they're trading, as they're establishing their deals, all the information is provided to both sides to make sure that this transaction occurred within the AfCFTA agreement. And then you'll also be able to have business sales services such as payments, and what we heard from our partner Afreximbank, who's also a partner in this portal, the logistics services and vendor verification and other services that will ensure that as people trade on this portal, it is not only within the under the AfCFTA trade rules, but you're also trading with confidence. And then there's all these other great systems that are being built, such as the TIP, the TRIP we heard in the African Trade Observatory, that are providing a lot of information, market information services, in terms of how do you compare trade opportunities, how do we identify promising market targets, what are the market access conditions for particular countries, and what kind of trade is really happening under AfCFTA. And the idea here is that these different portals work together at some level, whether directly integrated or linked to each other, to ensure that as buyers and suppliers are interacting, this information is provided in real time and available to them at different levels, so that they can actually transact with confidence and ensure that they are really, the transaction is occurring under relevant AfCFTA tools. At the moment, this is strictly a business-to-business portal. In the future, business-to-business and government as well, business-to-government. In the future, we may look at business-to-commerce, but at the moment, it's a business-to-business and business-to-government. So this is the Africa Trade Exchange Portal, ATEX, a very quick overview, and you'll be provided with the slides and as well as more information as it develops. It's going to be ready by January 1st to accept trades. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, for that presentation. Certainly very insightful and also exciting. Another digital initiative to support implementation of the AfCFTA. Maybe we could just take a few questions, if you could stay with us, Ahmed. The first one here is related to how would businesses or suppliers register to participate on the platform?
So once you go to the portal itself, you'll be able to register an account. You'll receive a form which will ask you for some basic information and provide you for some evidence of being a supplier or a buyer in this case. And then we have a back office that checks these documents and confirms it. And if you're verified, you're provided with access to the portal. So it is open to any supplier at any size who can verify the information. And it's all done from the portal itself directly.
All right, thanks, Ahmed. The next one is from Seyi Adebayo, who is asking, how does this platform differ from the digital ecosystem presented by UNECA from Afreximbank? Is it a part of it? How will they be integrated? How will they work together? Particularly on I think on the trade information portal and the B2B components. If you could share your thoughts on that, please.
Absolutely, that's a very good question. Now, they are complementary. These are not competing products. It's important to keep that in mind. It is a part in the larger ecosystem that UNECA has presented. There's payment components, there's logistic component, and there's also the portal where the actual trade, let's say transaction occurs or is introduced, the trade lead. This is the trade lead component that will introduce the buyers and sellers to be able to look at each other's products directly. And then as they go through the transaction itself in terms of affecting payment, you will link with the payment system that UNECA is mentioning. As you go into shipping, as you're trying to learn what kind of customs will apply, you're going to be looking at information from the TIP, what kind of regulations are applying, you look at TRIP, and so on and so forth. And then as people are looking to trade, they'll go into the African Trade Observatory to understand how the trade is occurring, for example. So these systems are all complementary to each other. There will be at some point an element of integration, and that is being discussed currently. There's no final decision on how the integration will happen. But the idea is that we will all be working together and meeting with each other to help make sure that everyone in the continent gets the best of all worlds. And Afreximbank is an active partner in this portal as well.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. A very useful presentation, and thank you for the responses as well. I think it's an exciting time with all these initiatives going on and all these platforms. Easier for Africans to trade and take advantage of the AfCFTA that is about to enter into force. Maybe we can take one more question. It's again from Samuel Nsingi. And the question is, what kind of insights could ATEX provide to regular users?
So regular users, I'm assuming non-buyer.
So over to you, Ahmed.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm assuming by regular user, we mean non-buyer, non-seller. In this case, the portal here would provide you information as you click on it, for example, about ATEX to understand what information services are available for you to understand how the trade works under the AfCFTA. But for regular users, the more let's say relevant tools would be the other tools that we discussed in terms of trade information, such as the TIP and other systems to understand really how the AfCFTA works, what kind of market buyers and sellers. This portal, ATEX itself, is really most relevant to people looking to transact. So it's either buyers or sellers, and provides only general information to the general public in terms of what products are available, what products are being traded. You will be able to see what are the most popular products being traded and so on. But if you wanted more in-depth information, there are other portals that our partners have spoken about that will provide you more information on trade. But this portal itself is focused on transactions and geared towards the audience of buyers and sellers.
All right, thank you very much, Ahmed. And we look forward to receiving the presentation that we can share with participants as well. So Ahmed, thank you very much, and thank you to ECA for their participation in this event and for partnering with us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we will be moving on to the next item on our program. And this relates to the intra-African trade fair. I'd like to maybe highlight that the first trade fair, I know our speakers spoke about it quite extensively, but the first trade fair took place in Cairo in 2018, which was a huge success. The second trade fair, which was scheduled for this year, but unfortunately due to the COVID-19 pandemic had to be moved, will take place in Kigali, Rwanda in September next year. And the Intra-African Trade Fair 2021 will provide a unique and valuable platform for businesses to explore an integrated African market of over 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP in excess of $2.5 trillion that is being created under the African Continental Free Trade Area. The successful launch of the operational phase of the AfCFTA has brought into focus the great potential for trade, investment, and socio-economic development across Africa. And the IATF provides a platform for African producers, manufacturers, service providers, buyers to come together, to meet, to see what is available on the continent, to identify those trade opportunities and build those networks. So to give us more information on the IATF 2021, I'd like to invite Janice Costa, who is the head of sales and sponsorship for the IATF 2021, to take us through a short presentation. Over to you, Janice. Hi, Janice, can you hear me? Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. There seems to be a problem with the sound of the video. The technical team is trying to resolve it. Please bear with us for a minute or two while we try to resolve the issue. Apologies for that, everyone. They're still trying to resolve the technical issue, but I believe Janice Costa is joining us now. So Janice, if you are around, please, you can go on. Apologies for that, everyone. They're still trying to resolve the technical issue, but I believe Janice Costa is joining us now. So Janice, if you are around, please, you can go on. Apologies for that, everyone. They're still trying to resolve the technical issue, but I believe Janice Costa is joining us now. So Janice, if you are around, please, you can go on. Apologies for that, everyone. They're still trying to resolve the technical issue, but I believe Janice Costa is joining us.
Hi, can you hear me? Thanks, Yusuf. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Janice.
Thanks, I'll go through it. Sorry about that. We just had some technical difficulties. I'll take you through the presentation now. Yusuf, I basically can't see the presentation. We just got a bit of technical difficulties where we are, but I will take you through a bit of the ITF, Inter-Africa Trade Fair 2021, and just get everybody excited. As you are aware, that Afreximbank, in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the governments of the Republic of Rwanda, will host the second edition of the Inter-Africa Trade Fair. So this is going to be held under the building bridges for a successful AfCFTA, and this is going to be held in Rwanda from the 6th to the 12th September 2021. The Inter-Africa Trade Fair will provide a unique and valuable platform for businesses to access an integrated African market, over 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP of over 2.5 trillion created under the African Continental Free Trade Area. IATF 2021 will focus on bringing together continental and global players who are seeking businesses and investment opportunities in Africa. It will also serve as a marketplace where buyers and sellers meet and continue to explore various business opportunities. It will provide a platform for B2B and B2G networking and development of business opportunities. We'll also share trade and investment and market information to identify solutions while addressing challenges affecting inter-Africa trade. We're also going to use this platform to share information about Afreximbank initiatives, trade finance, and trade facilitation interventions. The first edition of 2018 attracted well over 2,500 conference delegates and 1,000 exhibitors from over 45 countries, resulting in over 32 billion worth of trade and investment deals that were closed at the event. Our second edition is expected to be even bigger and aims to attract over 5,000 conference delegates, 1,100 exhibitors, including over 1,000 buyers from 55 countries who will engage on how to grow trade and investment on the African continent, and more than 40 billion in trade and investment deals are being targeted at Inter-Africa Trade Fair 2021. The key components of our second edition include an exhibition, the Trade and Investment Forum, a virtual trade fair, the country days, Creative Africa program, B2B, B2G exchanges, the IATF Youth Startup Program, and the IATF Automotive Show. So the exhibition, we're going to offer exhibitors opportunities to showcase their goods and services, providing a platform for countries and companies to identify credible partners that can facilitate foreign direct investment flows necessary for expanding Africa's productive capacity. The exhibition is also going to cover multiple sectors and will run for the full 7-day program, with a jam-packed program covering speed networking, matchmaking, hosted buyers programs, workshops, and many more. This year, our Trade and Investment Conference will address topical issues relating to trade finance, payments, trade facilitation, trade enabling infrastructure, harmonization of standards, industrialization, regional value chains and investment. There will also be an opportunity for exporters on how to access the African market with twinning arrangements with other African or global entities. Our Creative Africa program is going to be so exciting. It's going to showcase Africa's creative economy. This program will showcase Africa's top creative economy over 7 days, including a 2-day Creative Africa Summit, a 7-day exhibition with a dedicated area to the creative sector, masterclasses, fashion shows, and many more. The country days, we've invited countries to bid for our Country Day feature. There are only 5 countries available, and selected countries will have opportunities to showcase their trade, investment, tourism, and cultural opportunities. A new addition to 2021 is going to be the IATF Automotive Show. This is a dedicated area within the exhibition focused on automotive. This is the automotive's opportunity to showcase what the continent has to offer through various networking opportunities, meetings, and workshops. Another new exciting addition, which I'm very passionate about, is our IATF Youth Startup Program. We have a dedicated pavilion for youth startups in Africa, where they will showcase their goods and services. IATF 2021 will provide opportunities for matchmaking with venture capitalists, training, networking amongst the youth and other delegates. This will actually give the youth a voice on IATF platform. The virtual trade fair, which we're on right now, this enables virtual participation by buyers and sellers in the trade fair as a 365-day, 24/7 platform, reigniting economies and allowing inter-Africa trade to continue. The virtual trade fair has virtual booths, hosts webinars, facilitates virtual engagement between buyers and sellers. This is an innovative and cost-effective platform to promote your products, to sell, educate, and to service to a larger audience of key players. Benefits for the very small investment with big returns. IATF brings together exhibitors and visitors from all sectors. It provides a year-round platform for attendees and non-attendees alike to connect in real time during the event. Then we've also got our merchandising marketplace. So this is an opportunity to purchase official IATF merchandise, as well as an opportunity for exhibitors to use the platform through the marketplace to sell their products. The communication channels we'll be using are multiple, and this is through multiple continents. The campaign will include ongoing promotions with various components of the event through media buying platforms, including TV, digital, social media, virtual trade fair, and networking engagements through the live events across the world. On our sponsorship, there are various opportunities for you to take advantage of through IATF 2021. You can get your brand noticed with a captive audience of who will be your next big business opportunity. IATF and its affiliates are recognized as thought leaders with networks that reach far and wide. We offer customized sponsorship opportunities for businesses, both big and small. As a partner, you're going to benefit from branding rights and access to over 1,000 buyers, 1,100 exhibitors, and 10,000 visitors. IATF is the only platform where you will have access to meet 55 African governments, qualified global hosted buyers and investments. You must be asking by now, how can you participate? You can participate in the various ways. You can sign up for a virtual trade fair booth and get your brand noticed on a 24/7 platform. You can sign up for an exhibition booth in Kigali, register as a visitor online, which you can do that right now for free, or you may register as a delegate, or you may sponsor the event. If you've got any questions, please free to contact us directly. We're more than happy to assist you at any time. Our website is being regularly updated with current information, and you can stay in touch with our social media platforms for the most up-to-date information. We're constantly updating information about the fair. We really look forward to seeing you in Kigali in September. And please do not hesitate to contact us, and we look forward to signing you on as a sponsor, exhibitor, visitor, or delegate. Thank you, Yusuf. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Janice. And apologies again for the technical issues that we experienced with the video. But I'm hopeful that the team will make sure that the video is properly uploaded on the virtual trade fair platform for anybody who's interested in seeing it. And please reach out to Janice and her team as well regarding participating in the IATF 2021. So we've come to the end of our program, and I just wanted to thank all the participants for the insightful questions, for the engaging discussions, and also to thank in particular and President Hajia Aliyu and our partners at UNECA for joining us in the session, which looked at what the various parties are doing to support implementation of the AfCFTA, the digital innovations, the financial and non-financial interventions to help NACCIMA members to help Nigerian businesses and indeed all African businesses take advantage of the integrated African market that will come into force in less than 2 months' time, 1.5 months' time. A real opportunity for our own route and its own development ambitions. So I encourage participants to reach out to the team, to reach out to the speakers, to reach out to the bank and the partners, to take advantage of the opportunities and make sure that the objectives of an integrated Africa are achieved. And I'd like to thank everyone for participating, for the questions, and for taking the time to join us. Please regularly log on to our website, log on to the virtual trade fair platform as well, the IATF 2021 website for important updates and information on the event as we approach September 2021. It promises to be a very exciting event. And as Janice indicated, it's not just a trade fair. There's a trade and investment conference. There's a Creative Africa Summit. There's an auto show. So it has something for everyone, and it provides you an opportunity to see what Africa is producing. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone and wish everyone a good day. Please keep well and stay safe.